Bombshell reports have dropped from Pierre Lebrun and Elliot Friedman on this coaching search for the Boston Bruins. We now have multiple updates, including a possible date we have to keep an eye on, as well as names who've been out of circulation as of recent reports. We'll also be breaking down a new prospect who no longer can sign with the Boston Bruins in a very interesting turn of events. We're going to be taking a look at all of that here in this video. Very quickly before we jump in, I do want to make sure you're hitting the sub button, subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. We have so much Bruins news coming over this next week, but also into the next month. You're not going to want to miss it. We're going to be very busy on the channel here, making sure that we get the news here first for all of you guys. So be sure to do so if you haven't already and hit that sub button. But let's get straight into it. I want to start off first with the prospect, a name who's not been re-signed by the Bruins, or not given an ELC by the Bruins, due to the sheer amount of stuff we're going to have to talk about here in a moment. Starting off here, looking at this, June 1st was the deadline for the Boston Bruins to sign defenseman Jonathan Myrenberg, or lose his rights to become a UFA. That deadline has come and gone, and no contract has been given from the Boston Bruins. Now, Jonathan Myrenberg, a very interesting player, a very solid right-handed defenseman who we know wasn't really at that NHL level just yet. He's been a name that's kind of been under the radar in regards to Bruins prospects when he goes over in the SHL. Has been a prominent player over there, but really hasn't been making waves over in North America as of late. And I want to take a look at kind of the quotes that have come out from when a deal went down when he got traded to the Boston Bruins from the Vancouver Canucks. Now, going over what we had here, Don Sweeney had this to say. He's young, he's taking a growth spurt, he's 6'3" now, and he's got some length. His numbers at the junior level are really good. He's got some experience in the SHL, playing very regularly, so I think there's a development upside here in a positional need organizationally that we felt was a good opportunity for us. There's maybe a little longer of a development time associated with this player, but it's a good opportunity to add to the depth in the organization. Now, of course, this trade went down. This was a very good-looking trade, getting Myrenberg for Jack Lanica, and Myrenberg was someone who we thought would have been pushed into this lineup at a much earlier date than what we are currently talking about at right now. And when you go and look at his stats in the SHL and in the Swedish Junior League, he's been, not one of the most positive point guys. He's not been someone that has been putting up numerous amounts of points, but when you go and look at the way he's played as a right defenseman, now 6'3", as you see there, 6'1" in Hockey DB, he's a much bigger boy than what he was a few years ago. And now looking at as well, this year, 18 games, no points, injuries kind of plagued him. There must be some sort and some level of guaranteed uncertainty from the Boston Bruins to be able to make sure that this signing didn't go down or not offer Myrenberg a contract. Now, I do certainly think that some team would be willing to go out and probably put in a PTO for him or an amateur tryout, something along the lines. But the Bruins must have found some sort of reason that they didn't like what they were looking at. And I do have one more quote here from Don Sweeney on the case. He said, "We've done a little bit of legwork here. Guys, coincidentally, over the past little while, have seen Myrenberg play a little bit. Bruins European scouting coordinator PJ Axelson has a lot of familiarity with the player. He's done a lot of legwork over there the past few days when these conversations started to pick up. We do feel that there's some upside to this player." And once again, coming from when that trade went down from the Vancouver Canucks to the Boston Bruins a couple years ago, and we saw the level of, hope that the Bruins organization, and here in this instance, Don Sweeney, had for him, but nothing seemed to turn out. And when we do go ahead and look at the Bruins' right defensemen, they're pretty young in there. Of course, Ian Mitchell is someone that probably won't be there for a long period of time. Yoki Haru took that spot. They're the second defenseman, third defenseman, wherever he was put in the lineup here for the second half of the season after the trade deadline. And I figure something like that will go down again, whether it is getting back Henry Haru or whether it is going to be someone in free agency or the draft come in to slot in this right defense. But we know the depth isn't that great for the Bruins, so it really, must be something in my mind telling me that the Bruins found something they didn't like in Myrenberg to not give him an ELC. So let me know what you think about that. But more importantly, let's get into this coaching update, because we have a lot of stuff here to cover. And when we go and look at this, we know there's a big pile of players that are coaches, that have been in the mix. We hadn't really known who was in, who was out at this point, but we now know with this here from Pierre Lebrun. Expect the Bruins announcement their coaching hire early in this week, My understanding is that they're down to 2 candidates. They did in-person final reviews coaching candidates last week. So heading into now Monday, today, heading into the evening here, we're looking at a signing of a coach, the hiring of a coach, I would say at latest Wednesday. When we're looking at that, the first early part of the week, it could be tonight, it could be tomorrow. I don't have a date just yet, but Pierre Lebrun saying that we have to keep an eye on early this week is a major update compared to last what we heard. We knew that they signed Don Sweeney to make sure that his coaching signing would go down, but when we're looking at the options here, I really don't think that this would have hindered the coaching options and the coaching search of the possible names that are left. Now, Pierre Lebrun doesn't state who they are, but we can go back and have a look at where we were a couple days ago on the coaching candidates list. Joe Sacco, Jay Leach, Jay Woodcroft, Marco Sturm, and Mitch Love. In my opinion, it's probably going to be Marco Sturm, guaranteed, and likely Jay Woodcroft. There's a few options here. It could be Jay Leach, could be Mitch Love, and we also do have another update here on Joe Sacco, and this comes from Elliot Friedman, 32 Thoughts on the podcast. Sacco has been informed by the Bruins that he will not stay on as the head coach. TSN's Elliot Friedman reported he's not on TSN, he's on Sportsnet, but in his 32 Thoughts on the podcast that was released on Monday, doesn't sound like Sacco will be back on the Boston bench at all, with Friedman speculating the 56-year-old could join Craig Berube's staff with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So jumping ship and going to the Maple Leafs is something that certainly seems like it's going to be an option now, as he is not going to be returning to the bench at all. And something we kind of speculated a little bit, where the coaching staff will go. Whether it'll be Jay Leach returning as an assistant, as a head coach, who will be around? Would Joe Sacco go back to an assistant coach? There's still a lot of uncertainty there, but when we go to it, when we go and look, Pierre Lebrun had this to say, of course, last week, or a little over last week, or a week ago. On the Bruins coaching search, my understanding is the final interviews will be conducted next week, and then a decision to come after that. Not sure who made the cut. Boston's talked to a lot of people. Marco Sturm, Jay Woodcroft, Mitch Love, Luke Richardson, Joe Sacco, and Jay Leach among those who have believed to be interviewed. Now, we can confirm that we saw Jay Woodcroft, Marco Sturm, and Jay Leach interviewed, and those are the ones that we can see and have seen conducted once again in person. I would be willing to put money down that Marco Sturm is the leading candidate and one of these two options that Pierre Lebrun has mentioned here right now. We still don't know just yet who it is, who's going to be in this list, but we go back to this one. There are two candidates that early this week will be announced. So, first of all, I want to know what you guys think here in the comments below. Marco Sturm, I feel like we can all kind of agree is one of these options. Who do you think is the second? Would you be willing to go a different route? Jay Woodcroft, whether it be Jay Leach, whether it be someone else. I think there's many options that the Bruins have had. Now, have they made the smartest one? I think is yet to be found out. As long as Marco Sturm stays in this list, I'm feeling confident. So let me know what you think here about all of the news that we have here today. A lot of stuff coming out. As I mentioned, we have so much Bruins news that you will not want to miss, so make sure to hit the sub button. 62% of you guys watching right now have not done so already. But like I said, let me know what you think in the comments below about all of the news that we covered here today, going from a very interesting decision to not sign an ELC with Myrenberg, also the head coaching search. But that's all I got. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.